Hey boos, in this video I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel. I'm giving you real talk straight, no chaser. Let's see if you can handle it.
Cause I'm a boss.
Oh, hell no.
Hi guys, it's Yoni and I'm back with another video. So before we get into today's video is sponsored by Teddy Blake and they sent me this luxurious handbag. So I'm going to be unboxing it for you guys, for anyone out there that may be interested. So let's go ahead and get into this sponsorship and then I'll be back for the remainder of this video. So the handbag came in this lovely box and this company is based out of New York. They specialize in designer handbags made in Italy and it's a luxury leather. So based off of my research, from my understanding, the leather is manufactured in Italy. I feel like it's packaged really, really well. Oh my God, I can't open it fast enough. Why does it feel like Christmas morning? Come on. Okay. So it comes in this little baggie here. So I guess this is to protect it. Oh wow, it smells like real leather. You know how real leather has a really strong smell? It's fresh. It's fresh out the factory. Oh, this is a cute little bag. This is real cute. This is Ava Gold in Gray. And it has a zipper on the back. Has a little compartment. This would be the perfect bag to take to like a meeting. To all my little hypergamous honeys out there. You need to step your game up. Their pricing is better compared to any other luxurious brand that I've seen. It has another compartment on the inside. And that's about it. That's what it looks like on the inside, which is it's pretty cute. This is Ava Gold in dark gray. And I love gold. I think gold is just so clean, cute, crisp. I really don't like silver. I am a gold girl. So gold jewelry, gold watches, gold. So this is what the handbag looks like. If you are interested, I will be leaving all information down below in the description box. So now let's go ahead and get into today's video. So today's video, I wanted to talk about Kenya Barris. When I found out who the producer was for the show on Netflix titled Black as Fuck, at first I thought it was a woman. I watched his whole interview that he did with Issa Rae on Issa Rae's YouTube channel, and honestly, I'm just really not impressed. Honestly, I feel like this man has a true hatred for dark-skinned people, and then secondly, I feel like he has a deeply rooted hate for dark-skinned women. Let me just keep it all the way real.
Kenya Barris knows how to create black content. From blackish to grownish to mixedish, Kenya is known for successfully amplifying the voices and experiences of black people in America, namely the middle upper class. However, folks think his new Netflix show, #BlackAF, is just more of the same old thing. Second, he's sticking with the biracial wife by his side. Both Tracee Ellis Ross and Rashida Jones are mixed women who play a version of Kenya's real-life wife. Ross plays Rainbow, while Jones plays Joya. However, Rashida's casting in Black AF has been a point of contention for many. Third, both Blackish and Black AF highlight what it's like for wealthy black families in America. Much, if not all, of the show centers around race relations and how elite black folks are perceived.
This man has reached a certain level of stardom, a certain level of success, and he is just to hell with actual black people. And now he is trying to replace black people with mixed or biracial people or racially ambiguous people, and that's not the same. I I did not watch every episode of Black as Fuck because that show, I cannot even stomach to get through the first episode all the way through. I watched about 23 minutes of it and I was just over it. The humor for the show, you can kind of tell it mimics The Office, and it's just whack. Like, I'm gonna just call it what it is. I feel like for people to really enjoy The Office, you have to have that kind of sense of humor. Like, I know plenty of people who think The Office is funny, but to me, I just don't see the humor in that type of humor, if that makes sense. But that's what Black as Fuck kind of mimics. It kind of mimics that type of humor where it's just dry, but it's supposed to come across as funny, and it's just not my type of show. But I wanted to talk about some things that really bothered me, but just within the 20 minutes of watching the show. And one thing that I noticed was the first episode was mainly like the introduction. It was the pilot for the show, and you kind of learned more about where this show was headed, and you learned more about the different characters and things like that. My only problem with the show is that it's very pandering because it's kind of like mimicking Black culture, but it's not actual Black culture.
Mom, come on, you're the whitest person I know.
And then who is actually profiting off of this film? Not Black people. The icing on the cake, the cherry on top, is the fact that the writers for this show were all white. There were no Black writers on this show except for Kenya Barris. I'm sure he did some executive producing and he may have made some changes here and there, but for the most part, the writers were all white. So how can you title a show Black as Fuck, but then have a whole production team full of mainly majority white people, mixed people, biracial people, or racially ambiguous people? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Then when you look at his work, the reason why I feel like he has a deep-rooted hate for dark-skinned Black people is because when you look at his castings that he has done and that he has been a part of, for every project that he has ever been in, like Blackish, Grown-ish, Mixed-ish, and people are saying that he wrote and he produced Girlfriends. He did some episodes, but he did not write that show. He didn't produce that actual show. He wrote some episodes, and I would be interested to see what type of episodes he wrote on the show. His work really just shows how he has an issue for dark-skinned Black people, and he has a deeply rooted issue with dark-skinned Black women. It's so evidently clear. If you don't see it, then you are just blind, or you don't care to see it, or you don't want to see it. My issue with all of this is just a simple fact that when we as Black people, when we see shows titled Black as Fuck, we are thinking that we are going to be represented. So there's a lot of pandering going on. There's a lot of mimicking going on, but at the same time, we don't actually see Black people, and that is a major issue. This is a man who has been able to profit off of Black culture, but not even represent it in a way that truly represents us. Now, when it comes to Blackish, I was okay with that show because it was titled Blackish. There were, of course, biracial looking people on there. Then there was Diane, the younger daughter, who actually looked Black. There was also an episode that really focused on her skin complexion and how she grows up in a household where she is the darkest out of everyone in that household, which is an issue that a lot of kids and just people overall may have faced within their lifetime as a darker complected Black person. So you kind of feel isolated, you kind of feel left out, you kind of feel like you're different even though you share the same blood with these same people that happen to be in your family. It's just that your skin may be darker. I was okay with Blackish. Blackish was really on a very straight, narrow line for me because there were just issues that were touched, but it made sense and it fit very well. I didn't get into Mixed-ish. I didn't really watch that. I love Grown-ish, but after doing some research, what I have came to the conclusion when it comes to Kenya Barris is the fact that this is a man who lives in Hollywood, who married a racially ambiguous woman and had biracial children with her, and he's trying to prove that he's Black being being in his position, being that he is a producer, writer for hit shows in Hollywood that represent Black culture and Black people, and he is basically a sellout, and it shows through his work. But then how do you expect a man like Kenya Barris to understand what it means to be represented as a dark-skinned person when this person is not facing those issues? He's not in an environment that deals with those type of issues. To me, one thing that really made the show really irritating to me was the humor and how they mimic what Black culture is. It's something that a lot of us have to deal with on the job, and how we always have to intellectually address white people or people who just don't understand us as Black people. It makes us have to address those issues. I don't even know, like, for example, whenever they were talking about slavery and a bunch of different things within the first episode when it comes to what it means to be Black, a lot of those issues we face on the job, and we always have to address people like, hey, that's actually not funny, or like, hey, you know, actually that's very offensive, you shouldn't say that. Or, you know, like when people touch our hair and we have to explain to them like, hey, you shouldn't touch our hair. People always putting their fingers in your hair can dry it out and break it off. Or personal space, or you're crossing boundaries here. Another thing that really irritated me, and this is where I turned it off, I couldn't watch anymore, was they casted a biracial woman. I believe her name is Rashida. I'm not really sure, but I'll put a picture up so you guys can see what she looks like or whatever like that. Clearly she's biracial. She can pass for being white. And the issue that I have is that they casted her, and they casted her type of skin complexion because they wanted to be known that it is more acceptable for a light-skinned, biracial, or white passing woman to be a stay-at-home mom, but for an actual Black woman to be a stay-at-home mom, it's an issue, it's a problem. We're labeled gold diggers, we're labeled lazy. The only time that we can get cast for shows is when we're being represented and when we're being stereotyped to be loud, ghetto, lazy, a single mother, or we're one of those career-driven women that don't need a man. We're independent, we have our own, we have a nice house, we have the career, but we're single. It's never a Black woman in a position of being in a family where she can just be a stay-at-home mom, and she can be taken care of, and she takes care of her husband, her kids, and she takes care of the home, and she can just rest in her femininity. It's always a struggle, love, trauma type of stereotype, always got an attitude, always doing the most, always extra, always just super animated. So when it came to the casting, it made sense why they wanted to cast her, because she fit the stereotype of a racially ambiguous woman, not working but taking care of home and living in a mansion. So it's just like, we will never see a show where a Black woman is living like that. There was just a lot of issues within the first 23 minutes that I saw, and I was just getting super irritated. I just didn't understand why so many people were even entertaining it. Also, another thing that really irritated me was not only does he have like a colorist issue or mindset, he also has these stereotype jokes. The stereotype jokes are not funny when we know white people are going to be watching this show, and we know that we have to tell them that that's actually not funny, and that maybe you shouldn't talk to me like that, you shouldn't joke with me like that, because it's not funny, it's actually very offensive. And we all don't act the same, and can we all be represented? Can we just get a piece of that? I just don't understand. And it's so interesting because my best friend, we recently had a conversation, and as you all know, she is a plus size model, and the industry that she's in, she goes to different castings, and on the casting they will say African American woman needed, and then it will say height, and it will say shape, and it will say all these different things. But then when you get to the casting and they're looking for this African American Black woman, right? Instead, they are looking for a biracial girl to be casted over a true African American woman. And that is the issue. They're looking for a mixed biracial curly hair. They will cast her in a role that was titled African American when she's not African American. Our features are what they are. We tend to have a wider nose. We tend to have fuller lips. We have a certain certain look, and that needs to be represented, and that needs to remain true to what it really means to look like an African American, and not what a lot of these producers, creative directors want African Americans to be. And that is the true issue here, is that everyone is casting and everyone is deciding what Black culture is, what Black people should be, and what they should look like. But in reality, it's not truly who we are. It's not truly how we need to be represented and how we need to be seen. It's just doing more harm than good, because now there's this issue where Black people are at the risk of being erased completely. There's an erasure movement of Black people going on, and that's what I see. There's a lot of whitewashing going on, and in all honesty, I don't see how this is good for us, especially for me, because I tend to attract dark-skinned Black men. That's who I attract the most. As women, we all attract a certain type of man based off of, if we're speaking on looks. Some of us attract short men, some of us attract tall men, some of us attract medium built, some of us attract skinny built, some of us attract muscular or just a teddy bear. Some of us attract different type of men. I so happen to attract dark-skinned Black men, so that means I most likely will have a dark-skinned child. So it bothers me, because how am I going to raise this child in a world where it doesn't even want to represent them? How can my kid have imagination? It's really going to be up to me as the parent. But what movies can I use? What shows can I use? What films can I use besides slavery movies? I want my kids to be represented in a way to where it can help them flourish, so that they can be creative or whatever they aspire to be in life. I want them to have that representation so that they can see it, because that can go a long way for a child. But if they're not seeing it, then it's just like, well, where does that put them? Where does that place them? And when they compare themselves to peers and friends and things like that, it's going to make them feel like there's something wrong with them. And I just don't want that, because I know how that feels, being tall, being bigger, being Black in an all-white environment. You feel awkward. You feel like an outcaster. You feel like the outsider. You feel awkward all the time. So it's just frustrating when we see this issue and how we are making tons of YouTube videos, and these producers, executives, whoever, are definitely watching our YouTube videos, because when it comes to Black AF, their whole production was centered around basically almost like YouTube, filming behind the camera, you know? And so it's kind of like, okay, this kind of gives you like a reality TV, YouTube type vibe. And then even with reality TV now, with this whole quarantine thing, the green screen, we see people basically recording themselves in their home, just like YouTube. These producers, creative directors, they're watching YouTube, but they are not really being proactive with the issues that we discuss on this platform, which is necessary. And the only way we can truly make a change is if we stop supporting the stuff. That's why I turned it off. I didn't finish it. I tuned in for 23 minutes. I said, this ain't it. Turned it right on off and went about my business, because they need to fix it, because that's just not right. I would love your thoughts on this. I would love your thoughts and opinions, so make sure you comment them down below. But it's just irritating that we still have to have this conversation and we're still not seeing major change. Representation is important for everybody, but particularly Black women, because we are underrepresented every single time. Black men is not the same for you guys. And the reason why I say that is because you guys still get a shot at being a successful Black man with a white woman. We don't get that representation. We never really get that representation. We're not speaking on celebrities. We're speaking on shows. We're speaking on films. We're speaking on big screen theater movies. We don't get those same opportunities. Black women don't. We always get some struggling role or some single mother role. We never get the successful Black woman role who's married with kids. Maybe you don't work. We just never get that type of role. But Black men are represented better, in my opinion. That's why white women tend to gravitate towards them, because they are represented in media better than us. Let's just call it what it is. And we are the ghetto Black girl. That's what we are when it comes to entertainment. That's all that I have regarding this video. I would love your thoughts and opinions, so make sure you comment them down below. And if you're new here, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you are notified for when I upload, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye guys.